Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really special book from the Harry Potter universe, one you could supposedly find right in the Hogwarts library, Quidditch Through the Ages. Now, this isn't your typical Harry adventure. It's a full-on exploration into the lore of the wizarding world's #1 sport. So here's what we've got on tap. We're going to start by figuring out what this book even is. Then we'll take a tour through the game's wild history, check out the magical equipment, and get into the whole culture around it. And we'll wrap it all up with the final verdict. Is this book for you? All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, a Hogwarts library book. We're going to uncover how this real-world book feels like a genuine piece of the wizarding world. That's really the big question, right? This is not another Harry Potter novel. The whole premise is that this is an actual textbook that you could just go and check out of the Hogwarts library. So yeah, think of it as an in-universe encyclopedia. It's a companion piece supposedly written by a famous Quidditch expert named Kennilworthy Whisp, and it's all designed to make that wizarding world feel just that much more real and lived in.
But here's the thing. The magic of this book isn't just on the page. It has this incredible real-world purpose. It was actually published for charity, with over 80% of the royalties going to help children, through amazing organizations like Comic Relief and Lumos. So this little piece of lore has done a whole lot of good.
Okay, Section 2, the game's wild history. Let's dig into how Quidditch went from a mucky game in a marsh to a massive global sport.
The book takes you all the way back to the 11th century, to a place called Queerditch Marsh. Seriously. And from there, you watch it evolve over hundreds of years. You see the Golden Snitch get introduced in 1269, then more formal rules pop up in the 14th century, and get this, eventually a list of 700 possible fouls is established. It's a crazy journey.
All right, Section 3, brooms, balls, and birds. I mean, you can't have a magical sport without some pretty magical equipment, so let's break down the gear behind the game.
So, the book gets into the whole evolution of the flying broomstick, and let me tell you, they didn't start out as the sleek racing machines we see in the movies. The early models, they were jerky, slow, and probably gave you a ton of splinters. But over time, they got better and better, eventually becoming these high-tech, super-fast marvels. And this is just a perfect example of the awesome lore you'll find. The Golden Snitch, it wasn't always a little metal ball. It was created to replace the Golden Snidget, a real, tiny, living bird. It became super controversial to use this poor little creature in a game, so now it's a protected species, and the Snitch was invented to take its place. How cool is that? Okay, moving on to Section 4, rules, teams, and fans. Because a sport is way more than just its equipment, it's about the entire culture around it. And this book really dives into the fandom that makes Quidditch what it is. And this is where it gets really fun. You get these fantastic profiles of famous teams, like the Montrose Malpies or Ron Weasley's favorite, the Chudley Cannons. Each one has its own history, its own team colors, its own diehard fan base. It feels just like real-world sports, and it just makes the world so much richer. The best part is, the book has a great sense of humor about all this. It totally pokes fun at the absurdity of sports culture, you know, the obsessive fans, the crazy arguments over obscure rules, like whether a player was intentionally trying to crash into someone, which, by the way, is a foul called blatching. It's a super witty and clever parody of fandom. So for Section 5, let's get into the experience itself. With all this cool info, what does it actually feel like to read a Hogwarts textbook? The book is designed from top to bottom to feel like a genuine artifact. It's packed with all these charming little details, diagrams of different plays, fake newspaper clippings, and these hilarious little academic footnotes. It all makes the whole experience feel incredibly immersive, like you've really got a piece of their world in your hands. Now, this right here gets to the heart of the debate among readers. For a lot of fans who just soak up the lore, it's this brilliant, funny, detailed deep dive. But for other people, well, the lack of a real story or characters can make it feel a little dry. You know, a bit like reading an actual school textbook. Which brings us to our final section, your final verdict. So let's get down to it. Should you check this book out of the library? This table pretty much sums it all up. If you are a diehard Potter fan, someone who loves getting lost in all the little details, and you appreciate witty, satirical writing, then yeah, this book is an absolute must-read for you. But if you're someone who really needs a plot, who wants characters to follow on an adventure, you might want to just stick to the main series. And that's really what it comes down to. Quidditch Through the Ages leaves us with this really interesting question. What's more important to you? Is it the story that pushes things forward, or is it the rich, detailed world that makes it all feel real? This little book, well, it makes a pretty strong case for the world itself.